Welcome back to the American Hunting Podcast. This is our fourth edition, our fourth podcast we've done. And I got to tell you, it feels a little bit like the first one because this is the one I kind of wanted to do, honestly, when we started. You wanted to do a podcast.
Yeah.
And we got it started and we did it.
Yep.
Once we did it, this is the guy I wanted to have in here because this is the guy that's of the Generation podcast. He gets social media and he's a personal friend.
I remember when we were writing out topics for the podcast and I got 30 topics, but if we're going to have a guest, got to have Jake Teal.
Absolutely. All right. So, listen, before we get started, I want to remind everybody that the American Hunting Podcast is brought to you by the American Hunting Lease Association. Everything you need to enjoy a safe, successful, and affordable hunting lease all in one place. Resources like The Secret to Hunting Private Land, free ebook, and the Front Porch Kit, both free to download. Jake is our guest today. You'll get a printed out version.
Oh, nice.
To custom time-tested lease agreements and, of course, the most affordable hunting lease liability insurance policy you will find. Protect your landowner and yourself with the AHLA's complete risk management package. The American Hunting Lease Association, your hunting lease resource. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. We mentioned that we've got Jake Teal in here today, who's the owner, founder, and everything else.
Mastermind behind JTCalls.
JTCalls.
Yep.
So real quick, just a little background on my relationship with Jake. I know Jake. I met Jake through my son-in-law. So my son-in-law, Chad, and Jake and the brother, Nate, have just been best friends for years. So I've met Jake, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago.
Probably, yeah.
You know, it hasn't been a real long time ago. But the one thing that stands out to me about Jake, there's actually a couple things. But, I won't get into all this family stuff, but my daughter and Chad broke up for a short time before they got married. And one night, Chad had to bring over to our house all of Casey's belongings. That's a tough trip. That's a tough
I wouldn't
one.
want to make that trip.
Right. But who do you call? You call your buddy. You go with me. Jake shows up with Chad, and we stood in the doorway and just kind of talked about their relationship and stuff. And I love the way Jake had Chad's back. He was just, he's here for Chad. That, in my book, says a ton about a guy. And that's, out of all the other stuff we talk about, which is hunting and all that kind of stuff, that's the thing that stood out to me the most. So we're going to get into some business, some waterfowl calls and stuff, but it's good, dude.
Yeah, I'm glad you're on just because you and I have worked together at ATA Show, I don't know, the last 3 years or so. Now I had a ton of time to kind of just talk about ourselves and get to know each other because we've been building up and tearing down for hunter safety systems, actually. So I'm glad you're on. This is exciting.
Glad to be here.
So, man, let's jump right in.
Okay.
How old are you?
27?
27. Okay. Own your own call company.
Yeah.
What on God's earth made you think you could do that?
Well, it's kind of,
That's all right. It takes some getting used to.
It started out with the calls for me when I was really young, going hunting with Dad. When I was really young, we always went deer hunting, and then I got a little bit older, and we started going duck hunting. And he's like, here, he gave me a few duck calls and gave me a DVD. It was a Primos DVD. He's like, watch this. Well, it was probably VHS then.
Right.
But he's like, watch this, try and get this figured out. And so I got the calls figured out, what I thought I had figured out. And we'd go hunting, and I'd blow the calls, and then we go back to deer hunting, and we sit in a tree stand, and I'm like, I just want to go blow the duck calls. And so that was kind of always, that's where I started, was, I love the duck calls. And then I've always been into collecting calls. I've had, before I started making calls, I had a huge collection of calls. It was just kind of, the calling aspect has always been my thing. And then, me and Chad always argue about this at shows when people ask, but I think it's been 5 years ago. We were all sitting in Chad's kitchen, and it was Sunday, and we're like, nobody wants to go to work tomorrow. We're going
What do you do?
We're going to start a business.
What were you working?
I was working with Scott doing construction.
Okay. So you're swinging a hammer.
Yeah.
All right.
And it was Sunday, and we're like, everybody's like, I don't want to go to work tomorrow. What are we going to do? And, Chad had this crazy plan, and Nate had this crazy plan. And I was like, I'm going to order a lathe, and I'm going to start making turkey calls.
Have you made a turkey call?
Never.
Okay. So when did you get on Instagram? And I don't know if you know this, but I looked up your very first Instagram post this morning.
Yeah.
Do you know when it was?
No.
April of 14.
Okay. That was what I thought was 14. And so in the kitchen that afternoon, I ordered a lathe from Harbor Freight, and I started doing some research, ordered all the things that I thought I needed, and a week later it showed up, and I'd watched dozens of hours of YouTube videos because you can learn to do anything on there.
Absolutely.
And started turning pots. I still have the very first one that I turned, and it's
You'd never made a call.
never had no idea.
And
Any woodworking experience?
No.
Just
Not really.
Well, how much was the lathe?
Like $200.
Okay, so not huge, but
No,
you just at age 23,
probably yeah.
You're throwing $200 at a lathe, and
Yeah.
fair enough.
So it came. I still have the very first pot that I turned. It was out of oak, which was not
Hard.
ideal. It was really hard to turn, hard to learn on. And so I set it up in Scott's garage and just started turning pots and had dozens of them, and finally got one that was like, wow, this sounds like a turkey. This is great.
Yeah.
And I was playing around with different finishes and different dimensions, because it's all about the internal dimensions of the pot, and got a size that I liked, and kind of took some notes and tried to duplicate it, and then Chad wanted one, and then Nate wanted one, and then this guy wanted one, and this guy wanted one, then that guy's buddy wanted one, and so I started an Instagram page and a Facebook page, and it kind of went from there.
See, now I thought waterfowl was first.
No,
And
waterfowl.
I thought you just added on turkey as kind of a business decision, but
No, waterfowl was what I wanted to start with, but it's so much more. It's a lot easier to make a turkey call than it is
okay.
a waterfowl call.
In your turkey calls, people don't know this. I think a lot of people associate you, initially at least, with waterfowl calls.
Yeah.
Turkey calls are the bomb, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they sound great. And I don't love to turkey hunt. It's
no, you
okay.
don't.
Whatever. If they're gobbling, it's kind of fun. And if whatever.
You're crazy.
I know.
If I could pick one thing,
Oh, we're going to get to that.
if I could pick one thing, we're going turkey hunting.
But it's just, I think you need one call. These guys got pockets, or their pockets are stuffed with different kinds of calls, and it's just, I don't know. I've got one of his calls. It can make 2 different sounds. I'm good. I'm done. And if they don't answer to that, I'm going back to the truck and back home.
Man, and you were just giving me crap yesterday about how when I want to get out of a stand in the morning, you're like, no, you just need to keep sitting. I'm like, you need to do the same thing for turkeys.
Yeah, I'm 10 minutes. I got about 10, 12, maybe an hour tops, and I'm out. But, and I understand that. So, all right, so turkey thing took off,
Yeah.
more or less. Is it paying any bills? Did you pay for your lathe?
At that point,
Yeah.
Sounds like you're just giving them away at that point.
yeah, they weren't. I was selling them pretty cheap, and it was paying. It was enough money was coming in where I could buy supplies to make more.
At what point did you have the notion in your head that, man, this might be my life's path right here? I might go down this road full time.
Pretty early.
Pretty early.
That was my aspiration at
Okay.
least. And I've kind of always had like an entrepreneurial thing. And
Okay.
after I spend a ton of time watching like entrepreneurial videos. Like, I watch a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk's videos.
Right.
And he always talks about, when he was a kid, all the things he did that he didn't know it at the time, but led to where he was at. And I was thinking about that the other day, and I was actually talking about this with Mom yesterday. Like when I don't know what grade this was, probably middle school, and we'd get snow days, and all my friends would be like, we're gonna go to the golf course and go sledding down the hill. And all I wanted to do was I had Mom take me over to my grandma's house because she lived in a neighborhood, so I could go knock on everybody's door and shovel their driveways.
I think I've heard a lot of stories like that about guys that are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They were always looking at a way to make. Not. It's not even like you're driven by money. You're driven by the hustle.
Yeah.
You're driven by I want to knock on a door and get a yes. Then I got to shovel this driveway. But it's the knocking and the yes, I think, that kind of gets in your belly a little bit. It's like, that's what I wanted to do.
Yes.
It definitely seems like a different DNA makeup because, I'm the kid who wants to go sledding as fast as possible at the golf course.
Right.
So maybe that's why I don't own a call company right now. But
That's true. But I mean, that's really it's really, I don't want to say more interesting, but what an interesting offshoot of what we're talking about is And there's so many people listening that are like, yeah, I could never do that. And then they watch a Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, or any of those guys. It's Mark Cuban or it's Marcus Lemonis, those guys that run their own companies now. You can do that. And I think sometimes those videos get kind of you listen to those inspirational, motivational things all the time. They're legit now. It's not like, I don't want to put anybody down. Like, I think 20 or 30 years ago, somebody would just write a book. They never did anything other than write the book.
Mm-hmm.
These guys do it now.
Yeah.
And that's the social media, the internet aspect, all that kind of stuff shows us what they do. I literally watched The Prophet yesterday. And I run this company, and I watch TV sometimes or videos to get not just inspiration, but just maybe put you back on track a little bit. Or, you get so complicated and you're like, no, it's people, product, process. You got that lined up. The rest take care of itself for the most part. So,
I think there's a story in there, not just about buying the equipment to begin with and wanting to do it, but you talked about how I continued making calls until I figured out the right call.
Yeah.
How many people have tried something like that 3 or 4 times, and I can't figure this out, and then just shelve it? Those are the people who don't become successful, I think. Is the point is you decided I want to do this thing, and you saw it through until you had something that you were proud of and you could replicate.
Yeah.
And that's what started everything for JT Calls. Is that's what it sounds like to me, at least.
That's exactly right. Yeah, there's no once I got started, there was no going back.
Yeah.
That's the risk.
That's
the risk. And you could talk, guys we know that own companies, they talk about at some point, I maxed out on my credit cards, not that you did, but I've said, nope, this is what I'm doing. And they did it. And I'm going to plug a real short video later after this podcast, after you've listened. Go check out this video. I've shared it with you before. I've shared it with everybody in here. It's the Steve Harvey jump video.
Yep.
That to me is in the essence of entrepreneurial spirit. At some point, man, do it. Jump and see what happens. And the first time you do it, your parachute's not going to open. It's just not. God didn't give that to you. He wants you to go through some stuff, and you go through some things, some hard times. And depending, some of you will risk a lot, some of you won't risk too much. But eventually, when you jump, you decide what you want in life. You jump, your parachute opens, and then you're living. Then now you've experienced something that very few people get to do. And that's, I would encourage anybody who listen to this to go check out that video. It's like 5-6 minutes long, and it's just pretty inspirational to me. So a little bit of a sidetrack. You get done with turkey calls. Were you going to trade shows at that point?
I don't believe the first trade show I did was the Indianapolis Deer and Turkey Expo, and I think, there's obviously documentation on Instagram to verify this, but I think it was probably not until the spring of 2015, maybe even 16, but I think it was the spring of 2015.
Big jump.
Yeah,
that's scraping.
And you're still working full time.
Oh yeah,
doing construction at this point.
Yeah, I worked full time until last September, I think. And it wasn't at the beginning. It wasn't a huge problem. Because I wasn't very busy.
Right.
Basically, I didn't have an inventory. It wasn't like you couldn't get on the website and have 4 options. I would, on Sunday I would turn 5 turkey calls and post pictures of all 5 of them, and then sell those, and then no more until next weekend
through social media.
Yes. Yeah. It was all through. I didn't have a website at the time. It was just all through Facebook and Instagram. And
you'd sell 5. You'd make 5, sell 5.
Yeah.
That's absolutely awesome.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and you post make a sound file of each one, post it with the picture, and then people, message me if you want it, and then message me. We do a PayPal transaction. And
what was it about? So what about those calls? If someone wasn't familiar with the brand at that time, why do you think they were buying them? What was it? Was it the way you presented the product? Was it the small reputation you had started to build at the time? What was it about JT Calls, Turkey Calls?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Some kid couldn't post a video on Facebook and convince me to buy a turkey call that had sold 20 of them. I don't know how I did it. I go back and look, and the pictures were awful. The sound quality of the videos was awful. Everything about it was just not good, but people bought them. I don't know.
But the calls were good.
Yeah, I think it was, just being personal with people. If you message me on there, I'm going to message you back, and we're going to have a conversation as long as you want to have a conversation. I don't ever shut anybody out. To this day, I'm up until the wee hours of the morning. Every single person that sends a message gets a response.
I was looking at your Facebook reviews and stuff, and overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
You obviously can't please everybody. It's overwhelmingly positive, and every time someone says something, you respond with something as simple as a thank you.
Sure.
And you know how many reviews I see, this guy stands behind his product, stands behind his warranty. And I think that's, you're talking about just being personable and being not just hiding behind a logo on the internet, but people see you and they know who you are because of your calls.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it's cool to see how you've been able to grow your social media following in the last 3 years that I've known you. And I don't know, man. I want you to get to the point where you don't have the time to respond to everyone personally.
Yeah.
That's how much success I want you to have. But I know that really isn't in your DNA.
Yeah, and that's something that I struggle with because, you know, I get a lot of messages like, "Hey, I wanna buy your calls. I want to support you because, you know, you're the small guy. I don't want to support one of the big companies." And it's weird because, you know, that's kind of my goal, is to get to be one of the big companies. And so I kind of struggle with that sometimes, but
well, I think you can be. Honestly, I think that the days of big companies and big manufacturers is kind of going by the wayside. That's what, you know, social media marketing is allowed. It's allowed more room for smaller companies, but they can grow to be a big enough company to support you and a family and then some.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be. We see box stores now. I mean, box stores are struggling because direct to consumer is the way to go. And you probably didn't think about that when you started, but you got on that direct to consumer wave just as it was starting to gain some steam.
Yeah.
And now it's massive. Now it's like that's the way people want to do business. That's why Amazon's grown so much.
Absolutely.
And you know, ride that thing. You can be plenty big. We've talked a little bit about scaling.
yeah.
Because you're touching every call.
Yeah, that's what scares me about scaling. And I don't, you know, I'd love to hire somebody to help me or a few people to help me, but you know, when a call leaves, when I take the basket of calls to the post office every afternoon, I know that every single one of them is perfect because I did it.
Tell me about that process when you're dealing with orders. So you're tuning every call that
Every one of them.
So walk me through that. How does that look? What does a day look like for you?
So if I wasn't here this morning, I would have what I should be doing right now is, so first thing in the morning, I log onto the website and I spend probably the first two hours responding to Snapchats, Instagram messages, Facebook messages, emails, any way anybody can contact me. I spend the first probably 2 hours a day responding to those. And then luckily most people are at work, and so they don't respond back immediately. So I get a little bit of time. So then I print out I check out all the orders, print out all the shipping labels. I write on each label, you know, this guy gets this call, this guy gets these 2 calls, you know, whatever. And then I pull all the calls off the shelf, put them on the tuning table, and I go through and tune them all, paint them all, and then they get packaged, and then depending on what time, maybe I'll try and make a video.
I was going to ask, you just started a YouTube channel too,
Yeah.
and you're producing content. Where does that fit in?
And that's usually nighttime.
Yeah.
Because I have a strict deadline every day. I have to be done with orders at 4 o'clock. If I'm not done at 4 o'clock, they don't get to the post office in time, and those orders don't go out that day. Because that's another thing that I really pride myself on is, you know, you order calls from other people, and it may be 2 weeks, 3 weeks before they ship. If you order a call today, it's either going to go out today or tomorrow. You're going to get it quick.
That's awesome.
And so that's sitting on orders is not a thing I do.
Not an option.
So I have that 4 o'clock deadline. So then after I get back from the post office, it's kind of, I have a little bit of time to breathe, and I can, okay, what am I going to tackle now? So it generally is I try and do some sort of video content.
I think
That's the hustle.
I was going to say, I think the point is you're not just sitting on easy street right now. There's a level of work that going behind the scenes that, you know, probably a lot of people, myself included, aren't aware of. It's not like you're just kicking back and duck hunting all the time and saying, I'm going to send out a call when someone orders it. I mean, this is a legitimate way to grow a business, but you got to put the work in. You got to do it. So I commend it.
Do you duck hunt as much as you want?
No.
Do you duck hunt far less than you did before you get this all started?
Yes.
It's kind of a double.
Pretty weird, huh?
Yeah, we've talked to
it's
people.
odd.
We talked to people like, I want a job in the hunting industry. I'm like, you really don't. I mean, you might, but you know, we're constantly telling people it's like this is about 80% spreadsheets, conversions, impressions, marketing, hiring, staffing, processes, and 20% hunting. That's about it.
Yeah.
And so, it's not all just going out and sitting in a duck blind or a tree stand or anything like that. So, I want to, real quick before we move on, I want to talk a little bit about your life before you left your construction job, because that was another thing that stood out to me. What was a day like when you were working construction?
That was worse than it is now.
At the height of right before you had to make a decision,
so
before you jumped, I should say. What was that like?
So at the beginning, it was not a problem. For the first year and a half, 2 years, it was not a problem. I'd get home and maybe work an hour, but there for especially the last year, and we were really busy with construction. I was working probably at least 10, 12 hours a day with construction, and I'd get home at 7 or 8 in the evening and work until probably at least 1 or 2 in the morning, and then sleep for a few hours and then go back to construction. And I did that for a solid year.
No shortcuts.
No,
that's the lesson, man. There's no shortcuts, and that's what makes it possible. In all honesty, that's what makes it possible. You didn't have an investor give you $250,000 or have to do no. You have what everybody else has: time. How you spend your time is how you spend your time, whether you're sledding, whether you're trying to shovel driveways, or whether you've got one job just to support another job. Most of the guys in the hunting industry, if you're watching TV, the Outdoor Channel or Sportsman or anything, 95% of the guys you see on it have another job.
Yeah.
And then they do this. That's the, if you're listening and that's what you're, I wish I could do that. You can. I mean, this is, if you've got that in your belly, if you've got that kind of work ethic.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy, but.
Worth it?
Yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Do you remember the point when you were working construction and coming home and something happened with your brand where it just became so popular, you had to make a decision? Do you remember what kind of brought that on, or do you remember that day?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We were down in Louisville doing tub surrounds, and of all the things we did, I hated doing tub surrounds the most.
Okay, I have no idea.
Explain that. Yeah.
So in a hotel, it's the fiberglass walls inside of your shower.
Okay.
So it's not drywall. It's fiberglass. It's fiberglass walls.
Gotcha.
And those break, and we replace those. And that's like the worst thing in the world. And so on the way home, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. And I'd been realistically, I could have probably, JTCalls could have sustained me probably a year sooner than what I actually did, but I was just terrified of, I own a house and I have a wife and, truck payments and car payments and this, that, and the other. And it was just really scary. And then I was just like, if I'm going to do it, I just got to do it.
Right. Absolutely. You got to jump. And you could do it. I think, honestly, the adults around you, you're an adult. We knew you could do it. We knew it was like, he's ready. If he does go.
Just decide.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know. You can always get another job.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like if this goes down the tubes, I can go get a job. But it was just the amount of time that I could spend on the call company when I had another job was so minimal. I didn't get to spend time making videos or responding to as many messages as I wanted.
Right.
And so just that was the biggest thing. That it's grown exponentially since I quit, because I have 24 hours a day now instead of 6
right.
that I can spend on it.
Yeah, and I think people need to see that too. It's like you're not taking a step back; it's taking a step forward.
Yeah, and everybody always razzes me because everybody thinks hey, like I'll get a phone call on a Tuesday like, hey, you want to go deer hunting this afternoon? I'm like, no. Like, well, you're not doing anything.
You want
like,
to?
You're wrong.
Right. Yeah. I would challenge you or kind of caution you when you jumped, it grew.
Mm-hmm.
When you have to hire somebody that you trust, it's not going to be taking a step back because you're not touching every call. You'll grow.
Yeah.
You'll get better. Your service will improve. Everything about it will improve if you hire the right person.
Yeah, that's
the point. But yeah, same thing. It's all scary.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
But it's fun. Makes it worth it. Let's talk a little bit about waterfowl calls. I know you brought some.
Okay.
All right, let me talk a little bit about my waterfowl history. How many times have you been waterfowl hunting? Twice?
Twice.
Okay. And I didn't teach him a thing because I don't know anything.
He just took me. He took me to a spot with some birds, and we shot at them. And that was that was good enough for me. I didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't need any more than that.
Yeah. So my history in waterfowling is this will be, I think, the third year that I've even tried it. And like everything else, I tried it once, and I was like, oh, I need decoys and a dog and guns, and so I've got a bunch of that stuff. But I prefer to deer hunt. Again, we'll talk about that here in a second. But man, there's something about waterfowl hunting, especially if you've been in a tree stand for 10 days straight or 5 days straight. The first time somebody took me waterfowl hunting, I was just whispering, and they're like, "You can talk."
Yeah.
Like, oh wow, that's kind of nice. I already didn't shower before I came over here. I didn't concern with myself with any kind of smell or stink, and we're walking over here and we're just talking. And then, I mean, if you shoot, I carry a rifle or a shotgun or muzzle loader. I don't know how many days I've carried it this year. I've shot it once.
Yeah.
I was at Kentucky, that buck in Kentucky.
Yep.
In a morning of decent deer or duck hunting, you might shoot 15 or 20 times.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun for anybody. At least you get to, shoot some stuff.
Look, there's something about waterfowl hunting for me that, and I've talked about this with you. I want to get into it more because I spent most of my early adult years pheasant hunting in South Dakota with my family, and there's just something about bird hunting that is always going to be special to me. And it's not sitting in a tree stand and being super quiet, and it's walking a field and kicking up a pheasant with 6 or 7 other guys and yelling and having fun. And there's something about waterfowl hunting that I see similarities in that. And I've told you, I was like, man, I gotta find a waterfowl spot because that just looks so much fun. So
we got a bunch of ducks on our lease, but
we do.
The damn pond froze.
Yeah, it did.
They're not there.
Yeah.
They're not just walking around on the ice.
That's a big problem right now.
Yeah, that is a problem. So show us a couple of, most of our business, the American Hunting Lease, is in the South. It's Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our listeners are waterfowl hunters. Yep. I mean, we do we offer our liability insurance covers just duck blinds. Yep. So we got a lot of guys in Alabama that are calling, I'm just leasing a duck blind and 5 acres. Fair enough. We can take care of that. So, not to be too basic because just teaching us, but give me a good, what's your most versatile duck sound? Not necessarily the call itself, but like anybody can use this sound. I assume we're just talking about mallards. Yeah. Right. Okay. So
yeah, everybody always asks about wood ducks and everything else, and we'll get to that.
Well, you changed your name, right? It wasn't Teal.
Yeah.
No, I mean, how perfect is it?
I was going to say that is.
Perfect. I was like, oh, okay, it's probably like
it's a stage name.
Yeah. He's changed it to Teal because it sounds good. All right, what you got?
So, if you're gonna learn one note, you need to learn just a basic quack. That's everything. Everything in the duck vocabulary comes from the quack, and then so you get with learning the quack, you get the quack, and then you string together 5 quacks, and you get like a greeting call or a hail note.
All right, hold on. Let's talk about that greeting call. Mm-hmm. So, what are they doing? Why? If I'm a duck flying overhead, and there's ducks on the water in the field, they're greeting? Are they saying, "Hey, come on down here. Everything's great"? I don't know. I mean,
it's kind of a misnomer. People think, like, especially with geese, you think when you're on the ground, you're calling at the geese in the air.
Right.
What's happening is they're saying no. This is my feed. You stay away.
Okay.
And so it's kind of a turmoil thing.
So yeah, they're looking to protect their ground.
Yes.
Not necessarily say, "Come here."
Yes.
Yeah, I had no idea.
And the ducks, I don't think the ducks are as aggressive in that nature, but who's to say?
All right. Maybe it's safety. Maybe it's like, they're down there. They're making safe sounds.
Yeah.
Check it out. Okay. What else you got? Here's one I want. Do you take requests?
Yeah.
The squeaking hen.
Yeah.
Because you said on one of your YouTube videos that she's down there and she's filling herself full of corn and she's got corn in her throat. Well, come on. You know that this hen has a piece of corn lodged in her throat, and now she can't make a full quack.
And it's the Cajun squeal.
Cajun squeal. Now, why is it Cajun because down south it's more effective, or is it that's just what they call it?
That's just what they've called it. I don't know. I think it's for us. It's because of corn.
He doesn't have to either be like, okay, Cajun squeal. Like if you're playing a guitar, you're like, yeah, I know that one. Hold on. He just goes right to it. It's
but
crazy.
I think in the South they hunt a lot of timber and the ducks eat acorns, so they get an acorn stuck in there, and it's a lot more problematic for them than a kernel of corn.
Okay, so when and where do you throw that at them? I mean, does somebody in the blind go like, throw a Cajun squeal at them?
I just try things.
Okay.
You know, I start with the bare minimum to get them to react, and then you just kind of step it up until you see a reaction from them. So I may just start out with a standard greeting call. And if that doesn't work, then I may step it up and do a bouncing hen or a Cajun squeal or something a little bit more technical, just something different. Because every decoy spread they've ever flown over, every single one of those guys can do this. There's not a lot of them that can do. So I think it adds a little bit more. They're like, okay, if just the basic quack, that could be hunters, but then you do a little bit more technical stuff, and they're like, okay, maybe not.
Okay, so they're getting gun shy as well.
Sure.
Call shy, I should say.
I mean,
like turkeys and like whatever deer to an extent. They hear and see a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they get hunted a lot.
All right. No, that makes sense. And then the other thing is that I've learned is if ducks fly over and everything's right and you call and they don't land, they saw you. You weren't hidden good enough. You think you were, but you might not have been.
Yeah.
Well, you disagree.
For the most part.
Right.
I think, if they don't want to be there, then
you call that being on the X.
Yeah, you got to be on the X, and you got to understand what they're doing at that time I'd really like to gather just a ton of data and make like a DeerCast kind of app for waterfowl hunting.
Sounds like we got to go waterfowl hunting then.
Oh,
Data collection.
Doggone it.
Because the weather and the cloud cover, and I don't know how the barometric pressure affects them, but the amount of cloud cover, the precipitation, the temperature, everything affects what they're going to do, when they're going to feed, how many times they're going to feed, and what time they're going to do it. So like Sunday, last weekend we hunted Saturday and Sunday. The temperature was almost exactly the same. It was like right at freezing. Saturday was cloudy, and so no precipitation, just cloudy, full cloud cover. And they only fed in the evening. And let's see, Saturday shooting light ended at like 5:18, I think. And about 4:45 on Saturday, everything came to feed. Sunday, exact same temperature, but full sun, no clouds. That morning, they water hopped. So they went from water to water to water all morning, and then they didn't feed until after sunset. And that's because of the sun.
Right.
And that's things you learn from, taking notes. I try and write down every time we hunt. I try and write down, okay, it was this temperature, it was sunny, and it rained, and they flew at this time.
Just to try to pattern them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be tough. I mean, I don't know I don't know. I mean, I would guess it would be a safety thing. Safety and feeding. They want to stand on the water because they feel safer on the water.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. So
yeah, no coyote's going to get them on the water.
Exactly. No predators in the water.
Okay, so you get all that stuff kind of dialed in. There's going to be cloud cover. There should be birds coming in. My question is, with calling, is less is more, or is it different every time?
It's just depends on the situation. You just got you start out with less, because if they want less and you give them more, it's not going to work. So I start with less, and that's never going to hurt anything. And you just kind of build up and see, okay, that level of calling really got them to react. And then generally, most of the birds that day will respond to the same level of calling.
How many guys are in a blind with you?
It really depends. Generally 5, 6, 7. I don't like to get any more than that.
Are you all calling? or is it are you kind of the designated?
Yeah, I kind of.
Yeah, he's
Figured.
shut up.
Luckily,
Put that away.
luckily, there's a few of us that can call pretty well, and then you got guys that are the designated flaggers and.
Give them a job. Make
Yeah.
them feel important.
Yeah, like leave your calls in the bag. You
You're
just
good.
get the flag.
I'm a flagger. I would be a flagger.
I feel like I would be too.
Is Chad a flagger?
Chad doesn't go. If Chad would be a flagger, yes.
Yeah. We got to change that. All of us need to go out. Let's talk a little bit about geese. You prefer geese or ducks?
You know, it's funny. It kind of depends. I really prefer eating ducks.
Right.
I could eat ducks every night, but the geese are so much harder. It is so much harder to kill a
Which
goose.
is crazy because they're everywhere
I know.
around here.
And
You
they're
know?
mean.
Yeah, and they are mean. So they're
It's
harder to kill?
So much harder. Like we could go
Good
out
Lord.
and you could, half-ass put together a spread and kind of hide, and you could kill ducks.
Okay.
But unless things are perfect, you're not getting geese in range. It's not going to happen.
Well, I feel better about the few I've killed.
The one
Wow.
I've killed,
I should have had those mounted.
I'm on the board, so I'm feeling
that's
accomplished now.
Yeah, that's absolutely
The geese are tough. They really pick things apart. You got to be hidden. Your spread has to be perfect. Everything has to be lined up for the geese to do it.
right. Okay.
The
Well,
same weather patterns and things apply to geese.
Yeah, when the ducks fly, the geese fly generally.
let's hear a duck or a goose call. Sounds like 10 geese here.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. I mean, that's impressive, but not how long. That's a kind of a generic question. You've had to practice
Oh, a lot.
countless hours. Here's where you're going to make your money next. You ready? Muffle those things so that somebody can practice in their house without getting a divorce. To where,
There you go.
just some sort of a practice.
You probably should have said that off camera.
I can't. I mean, if I blow it once, I'll be in the garage and blow it once. And my wife's like,
practice on your commute
here
to
you
work."
go.
Yeah, my dogs would go.
And in the
insane.
truck, it drives me nuts, frankly. I mean, in my own truck, I've tried it a couple times, like, ugh, that's awful.
Did you learn? I mean, how'd you learn the fundamentals of this? YouTube,
yeah.
and then you build on that. When you get a little bit of skill,
Yeah.
you start to throw your own kind of twist on it.
Yeah, there's countless instructional videos on YouTube, and now we have a instructional line
Yeah.
on YouTube as well.
It looks like that's pretty popular too.
Yeah, and it helps guys. There's, if you're gonna sit and just practice and practice and practice, and you're doing the wrong things,
Yeah.
it's like anything else.
Anything
If you're
else.
practicing the wrong thing, you're gonna create bad habits, and it's hard to break those.
What would be the number one tip you have for a guy who's first time he ever picks up a call, and he's trying to learn the fundamentals? What's the one thing you say you got to start? You got to get this down, or you have to start here.
For a duck call, you just got to get your quack down. And the biggest mistake is trying to advance too quickly. You have to master the fundamentals before you can move on. And
You think an inexperienced hunter who just started calling and goes out maybe with him and a buddy or two other guys, if they get that quack down, you think they can kill some birds?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not all the fancy stuff. I mean, it impresses your buddies, but it's really not necessary.
Try it. You brought it up. Try it.
All right, what do I do here? This is not a JT call, by the
No.
way. What do I do?
So I'm just gonna hold it like this, where I'm not gonna close it off, just kind of open like that.
Okay.
I'm gonna present the air, and then I'm gonna cut it off with my tongue, like when you make a T sound. You need a little bit more pressure, and you need to cut it off sharp with your tongue.
My duck does not sound like your duck.
I know he's pushing from his gut.
Yeah, you gotta really, like, this is what it sounds like in the back. Yeah, you gotta.
Got better.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
It is, though.
and to me, honest to God.
There you go.
Okay. Here's the better
That
one.
one was good.
Feeding call, right?
That's not bad.
Yeah. But do yours. Okay. A guy
just
can blow.
like-
He can blow a duck call. I get that, but his calls sound better.
They
There's
do.
a richer sound.
It really does. And, kind of my point was not to highlight how bad I am. I've never blown a duck call. That was my first time ever. But by saying that wasn't a JT call, it wasn't to say, hey, I'm no good at this. There really is, I talked about your reviews. There really is there's a quality to your call that guys aren't finding in other places. And I think that, along with obviously the little bit of skill you have, makes for a really cool sound.
Yeah, and I mean, I've got other calls. I've got some JT calls. They're easier to. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. That's not because I'm smart, but I've blown a couple to know that those are just easier. They just seem to take less of my air away when I'm trying to blow them.
Yeah.
So
What is it about your calls? How do you, without giving away any secrets, what do you think it is? Why is there a consensus that your calls are just better?
It really comes down. There's better and not better is kind of skewed. It's personal preference. It's like, why do you like Pepsi or why do you like Coke? It's not necessarily, one's not better than the other. It comes down to personal preference. Some guys present air to a call differently, and so my calls fit them. And then there's other guys that, it's not for them. It's like my goose call it takes extremely little air to blow, and some guys that's not good for them at all.
It's funny to hear you say that because you feel like the guy trying to sell a duck call would be like, this is for everybody.
No, it's not.
This is, and it's kind of refreshing to hear you say that because I never thought of it in the sense that it's a preference thing.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Interesting.
real interesting. You ready to move on to the tail of the tape?
Yes.
Okay, this is the tail of the tape.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you.
You and I have not done this either.
We haven't
though.
done this, so we're actually going to put ours on record now. But
Yeah.
we had Sean Kieran on here, who's the director of membership for the Sportsman's Alliance, and we went through his stuff. We changed them. We changed one or two, but these are just 6 questions.
Okay.
Piece of cake. Makeup, mask, or all natural? Nothing on your face.
Generally nothing. Used to be face paint. I was all about the face paint, and then it's too hard to get off. So,
100%.
What?
100%.
Dude, it's a
I did
rag.
face paint.
It's a wet wipe.
if I could get
Comes
it,
off.
if I could get it right off in like 5 seconds, I'd put face paint on every time. But it takes too long to get
Is
off.
that both deer and ducks?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you?
Nothing now. I
Nothing?
put on face paint once. First of all, it didn't look good. I thought I'd look a lot cooler.
who?
To me, I thought I'd look a lot cooler than I did.
It's about looking cool.
It is about looking cool.
I've seen guys like that.
And mine just didn't look good. And then it was kind of a pain in the butt to get off. So I was like, you know what? I'm not doing it. And if it's really cold, I'll wear a mask.
Yeah, I'm a makeup guy.
Turkey hunting, I'm wearing a mask
Yeah, I'm makeup.
every time.
I here's the problem I have with a mask. I can't eat and drink very easily with it.
That's true.
I'm constantly having to go up under it to get a drink. I hate that. I'll make up every single time. Not during rifle season. I'm okay there. But during bow season, when it's happening, I feel like my face just stands out.
Sure.
I feel like it's just a shining mirror in the tree, and I feel more confident. I don't really look at myself though, so I'm not judging how cool it looks.
It's all about
That's
vanity.
Not necessarily true, but okay. Favorite tree stand or duck blind snack?
Peanuts.
Just straight peanuts.
Dry roasted Planters peanuts. I always have a lot of them.
All right, tell us yours.
You kind of looked at me
already know.
funny when I told you this yesterday. I don't eat in the stand. There was, when I'm driving to the lease, I like to have my blueberry almonds and I have my sugar-free Rockstar when I'm driving there. There was one time I hunted on a Sunday morning. There were fights on Saturday night. So I kind of overserved myself some Bud Lights the night before. And I had a sausage egg McMuffin to kind of like
In the stand.
in the stand. But
Cold.
that's the only time I've ever eaten in the stand. I just don't like doing it.
I've got all kinds of them. So at the beginning of every year, I make about a 2-pound bag of trail mix. Mm-hmm. And I always have some of that with me. I used to be Hostess chocolate little donuts, but now I'm Tasty Cakes
on Tasty
because they're
Cakes
$1
now.
at Walmart. They're fabulous, way better than Hostess. But no, I take a Pepsi bottle, an empty Pepsi bottle, fill it with milk. My wife now has me drinking almond milk, which whatever.
Not
I can put it down. And 2 cherry Pop-Tarts, frosted cherry Pop-Tarts in a Pop-Tart case.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I ate crumbs way too long. Tree stand, box blind, or ground blind. You hunt different types, so just on a perfect morning, where you find yourself.
Tree stand.
Okay. Ooh, that's telling.
Well, are we talking
We're talking whatever you. What's the perfect
the
morning?
perfect? It depends on the time of the year, really. If it's the spring, ground blind turkey hunting. In the
Okay.
fall, duck blind.
Okay.
I just like sitting in those lone wolves. There's something about them, man.
I'm a tree stand guy. Yeah, those box blinds, man. If you get in a box blind, it's hard. They're like crack. I mean, you're gonna be addicted.
Yeah.
Every time it's
Nice
unpleasant
leather
out, you're like,
seat.
oh, I'll just go to the box blind.
Yeah.
I gotta stay in a tree stand. Favorite state to hunt?
I've only hunted a few: Indiana, Kentucky, and Alabama. And for turkeys, we had a really, really good time in Kentucky last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so my favorite place I've hunted turkeys is Kentucky, but I don't really have anything else to base it off of, so I'm gonna go with Indiana.
Fair enough.
South Dakota will always have a special place in my heart. So.
Why?
Man, it's my family owns property out there, and we pheasant hunt every year, and it's a time to get together. We do it. We go opening season almost every year. We didn't go this year, but there's just something special about it, man. Pheasant camp is fun.
Yeah, I'm an Indiana guy. You give me a cold, frosty morning with I can see my breath in a tree stand, watch the sun come up on a beautiful morning. I'll take Indiana all day.
Yeah.
And that's the craziest thing because I've always thought, and this is well before I waterfowl hunted, geese flying over, honking, to me sets it off. It's the
Hey, now.
it's the final piece of the puzzle to me. And it's just like that is to me that's being in nature. So yeah, I'm an Indiana guy all day, and I do love Kentucky, by the way.
Yeah.
Bucket list hunt. What's the one hunt you want to do before you move on?
Oh. I don't know if it's necessarily a bucket list hunt, but there's a list. There's a list of all the species of North American waterfowl, and that's kind of like killing a grand slam for your turkeys. You kill
Okay.
all 5 subspecies. There's a waterfowl list of that, and there's like 50 of them or something.
Really? So you want to do all 50?
Crossing that off is something I'd like to do before I die.
How many you got now?
I don't know, probably like 8.
Okay, that's a pretty good start. Being 27.
We don't get a lot.
That's why you need to hire guys. They
Yeah.
they do all the work, and
Exactly.
you go hunt.
You let some other guys tune calls and answer
Yeah.
messages, man. You'd
Yeah.
be there in
That's
no
an easy
time.
fix.
No kidding. All right, Joel. What's your bucket list?
I don't know. I saw a video once of the sky was just blacked out by so many ducks. Like you couldn't even see light coming through.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking, man, if I could see that in real life, that would be just that. Not even. I don't care about the rest of the hunt. Just to experience that one time somewhere on the
being
flyway.
underneath of that.
Yeah, I think that would be the coolest thing. And then obviously there's something killing an elk out west. Just the size of that
that's
thing.
high on my list also.
That's like
Bow or gun? Does that matter?
I want to do it with a bow. It just
Yeah.
feels like a bigger sense of accomplishment, but
Nice.
to me at least.
I would probably say some sort of like doll sheep, mountain goat, something that takes a week to get to.
It's dangerous too. Up in the
It's-
mountains.
Not really. I mean, it is, but it's. I don't know. I
They're
want
literally-
something.
I've
that's,
seen them climb.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm not.
He ain't doing that.
Yeah.
but
it's
I
crazy.
it's just I want to do something where when I'm done, I'm smoked. I'm beat, but I finished it, and so I don't know. It's probably a mountain goat, something like that.
Do you have any interest in leaving the country, ever?
To
To do any kind of like go to
I do.
Africa
I wanna go to
or
New
Australia
Zealand.
or anything?
New Zealand, I don't know if people know this. New Zealand has no. None of the animals in New Zealand are indigenous to New Zealand.
They brought
They
them
were all
all in.
brought them there.
Yeah.
So
So
there are
the-
no predators.
So are the people, aren't they?
Yeah, but I mean,
They're all inmates.
there are no predators. So they have there's no bag limit.
Yeah.
And there's no hunting season.
Just free for all.
Yep. If you want to eat it, kill it. That's basically what they
That's
in New
wild.
Zealand. Yeah, absolutely. So I do want to go to New Zealand because there's like tar and some stuff like that, chamois that I'd like to try and kill. But Africa, no, I have no.
I have no desire to do
No.
any of that.
I just don't. So New Zealand, Canada, if you're being
Sure, yeah,
technical,
okay.
but no, that's about it. And I will say I started hunting. The first time I was ever introduced was by my grandfather when we took me squirrel hunting, and I ruined it. I'm sure I was probably maybe 10. He's still alive. He's 94. Yeah, maybe one more squirrel hunt one time to that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, well, we might already be here. Turkeys, deer, or geese? You can only do one. Which one is it?
I mean, it's really deer's out. It's super close between.
You are heartbroken.
Drive safely, everyone.
It's super close between waterfowl and turkeys, and if you ask me this question in April, it's no question turkeys. And you ask me that question right now, it's no question waterfowl. But if I could only do one, I'm gonna one for the rest of my life. I'm gonna go with turkeys.
No kidding.
Yeah,
and just pick ticks off of you all the time.
all the time.
That's crazy.
You drink pickle juice. It keeps them off of you.
Is that right?
Yep.
Well, all right. That's a step in the right direction. I don't mind pickle juice. What do you got?
I don't know, man. The rest of my life.
Yeah, just one. I mean, if you just had to pick one.
Pheasant.
Not on the list, but okay.
That works.
I'm going with deer, man. I'm the reason
Yeah.
that, I just can't. I don't know what it is. And we talked about this the other day. Joel's a morning guy.
Yeah.
And he hit me up text me the other day from his stand. He's like, I'm done. I'm like, you give it another hour. Now, it's not a morning thing right now.
Yeah.
We're sitting here today. It's not a morning thing.
It was like 9:45 and I was out.
And he's out, and then I'm like, you gonna hunt this evening? Because it's definitely an evening thing. And he was like, no, I think I'm done. Okay. And I never beg. I'm never make you feel bad. I'm not trying to pressure you, but I was like, maybe you just don't love this deer. Maybe you're like, I've had enough.
Yeah.
Maybe you're over it. I think is what I said. And we were talking about this yesterday too. He's like, yeah, maybe I am. I mean, and there's always a time in every year that I'm sitting in a tree stand and I haven't seen anything. Man, I really ought to be cleaning up the garage or cutting the grass or something instead of just sitting here. And it was even worse when I had, teenagers. I'm like, they probably could use me at home.
Yeah.
And I'm here.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, it's worth it to get a deer
But I think
a big buck.
something we were talking about the other day is I feel like with waterfowl hunting and turkey hunting, I can always try harder. Like if we're in the turkey woods running around, like there's that ridge that I know I need to get to the top of, but I don't really want to. I can try down here, and I can do it. I can always try harder. When I'm sitting in a deer stand, I'm like, all I can do is hope. Like I hope
more still.
I hope something happens. I don't know what I can do to better my odds.
That's pretty. I've never heard that. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, I at least understand that. I didn't change my mind, but yeah, I can see that. All right. Last one. This is a bonus question. Would you risk ruining a deer hunt to shoot a coyote?
Yes.
I mean, I just did.
Yeah, that's
every
true.
time.
I just did like
There's
every
no,
single
last
time.
week.
no coyote can walk past.
I know.
Well, some can.
Some
and then
can.
they went back.
Yeah. I shot a coyote last week. It was my first one, and I hated it. I mean, I hated it.
You're a dog guy.
I'm a dog. I've had dogs my whole life, and I just started deer hunting a few years ago.
But given the chance, it would eat your dog.
I get all that. When you shoot it and it squeals
It's
and
a
it looks
dog.
like a dog,
Yeah,
it's like,
it's a
damn,
dog.
that was a little tough. I texted him. I was like, yeah, I feel like a piece of crap. And it's like, all caps, they got to die. And I'm like, all right, I get it. So.
Good deal. And you've gotten in some coyote hunting lately,
Yeah,
haven't
we've
you?
been doing quite a bit.
You digging it?
Yeah, I like it a lot.
That's at night.
Yeah, it's
So
all
it doesn't interfere with
all
your
at
work.
night, yeah,
That's nice. You're literally going 24 hours now.
yeah. Sometimes it's crazy, but
Well, I appreciate you. I know Joel appreciates you coming in.
Absolutely.
yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I mean,
This is cool.
It's a pleasure. We'll do this again. Maybe turkey season, or trade
Yeah.
show season. But we need to actually off podcast. We talk about some trade show stuff.
Yeah, what do you have? Do you have trade shows planned for 2019?
I have a couple planned. It
are they?
It happens like this every year. I'm at this time of year. We're so busy, and I'm like, okay, I'm not doing any trade shows this year. And then come February, I'm be like, okay, I really need to go do some trade shows.
Do you have anyone announce? I mean, that you know you're going to?
I'm gonna do Indy 100%. I'll probably do the Ohio Deer and Turkey Expo, and then, but I'm not going back to Harrisburg, not this year.
Yeah, it's a
That
great
was-
show, but it's 10 days.
It
And
was-
that's a tall ask from any company,
It
especially
was
a smaller one.
It was crazy. I got to have somebody to go out there with me for 10 days,
Yeah.
and it was just too much.
Yeah, I think somebody might have said that to you.
Yeah, but I mean, it was awesome. I got to meet a ton of people.
Absolutely.
And that's what the trade show is really about. I don't, it's not a huge moneymaker. I don't make much money. It's a huge expense to go and set up,
Right.
but it's the putting faces to names. I meet all these people on Instagram, and I know what their Instagram handles are. Like if they come up and they're like, hey, I'm Deerman13. I'm like, okay, I know exactly who you are.
Yeah.
And so we get I just get to shake hands with a lot of people, and that's really what it's about for me. But
Good. But it's also worthwhile.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So
Yeah.
Where can people find you online?
Online, jtcalls.com, facebook.com/jtcalls, instagram.com/jtcalls. Snapchat is just Jake Teal.
is
Snapchat's awesome.
Is it moving your needle?
Oh yeah,
What?
I love it. It's a lot more personal.
Looking at my marketing team right now, I've never heard Snapchat from them.
Well,
but to me,
it's a tall order because
3 guys.
I know. So like if you send me an Instagram message, we're gonna type back and forth. If we start Snapchatting, you're gonna send me a picture of you. I'm gonna send you a picture of me. We're gonna have text on that.
Can people order and buy stuff on through Snapchat?
I think there's a way, but I don't fool with that.
Okay. Good enough. Yeah, we can talk about Snapchat. I don't know that that's.
Snapchat's cool. You need to get on Snapchat.
All right, we're on Snapchat.
We are as of today.
Good deal, Jake, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having
coming.
me.
You better believe it, buddy. Anytime.
I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me.
You play us out.
Yeah.
Play us out.
Play us out, yeah.